We will see an English mirror here on Altai, and it will be in the blue trunks, Mr. Marine Lord. As you mentioned earlier, arguably the best player in the world, and Wham, the guy looking for the upset in the red, also trying his luck with English and going for quite some aggressive scouting towards the center.
Yeah, heading out straight away, you can see he actually meets Marine Lord, gives him a nice little shout out. No Strelboras coming out just yet, but maybe a few Abugas. I'm a big fan of the Strelbora, and I'm hoping that we'll see a few today. Something tells me that we might, Nilly.
Well, English Mirror is certainly leaning towards that direction. We've seen players go for massive amounts there, and the big question is, what are the next steps? It's just like Longbowmen feel like the go-to. We already discussed some strategies, how you could make Horsemen viable, but I won't believe it till I see it. So the question is, both going for Longbowmen, who gets the advantage there? How do you maneuver?
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more difficult, doesn't it? Because, when do you throw in your upgrades, your +1s? What happens if there is, a bit of a horseman switch? Then you're going to have to get your barracks out. But, I mean, one of the things that I've seen, I think I watched an English game against the Holy Roman Empire. And the Holy Roman Empire player, he had a serious amount of horsemen coming in. Like, I'm talking, 6, 7 horsemen. And yet the longbows just, looked at them, breathed in their direction, killed them all. And just made, kept going on their way. So it really becomes, it's a difficult thing to deal with, the longbow mass. But I'm curious to see how the game unfolds, whether we see any sort of builds that go outside the box. So whether we see, Marine Lord typically is a bit more of a castle-orientated player. Like, there are players that I would think of as, Age 2 players, like Casper. I always think of him as, he just wants to stay in Age 2 and fight. But Marine Lord, I kind of feel like he's a bit more of a, get up to the 3rd age kind of guy.
I can agree with that. Marine Lord, he works so diverse, I would think. Like, if I think about it, I see him as the French player #1, right? And if I think about him, it's like mass Royal Knights and Archers, or Horsemen and Archers. So I see him a lot in Feudal Age. It just feels like every single time it goes into Castle Age, he already has an advantage.
Yeah, yep, I agree 100%. Yeah, he seems to work out these advantages as well. It's really curious to watch the way that he plays, and he sort of just ekes them out. But he's gone for a double scout opening here. Compared that over to Wham, who looks to have just gone for the single scout opening. It means that he's going to have a little bit more of an early age up. But take a look at the landmark positioning here for Wham. Very, very aggressive.
Well, the typical thing, right? 7 on food, then 3 on gold, and use those 3 villages to build your landmark, but certainly very short distance, and the double scout approach could be punished a bit. Marine Lord still stays on gold. Interesting.
Yeah, 3 on gold here. It could mean that we see something similar to what Donati does, where he goes for this early wheelbarrow. So he tries to sneak in a wheelbarrow and not get punished from it. I'm curious to see whether it's going to work. The main thing that really concerns me right now for Marine Lord is take a look at the positioning of Wham's landmark in relation to his base. So one of the things that I like to always bring up is that if ever Marine Lord was to get on top of this landmark with, just even slightly more longbows, then it's good game. Because Wham is no longer able to produce any longbows, because they're always going to be coming out that front door that's going down. And so if you can stop them from coming out that front door just by killing them, well, you're going to keep adding longbows to your numbers, whereas Wham's not going to be able to do that. And so I think it's very all-in the way that this is positioned here, despite obviously it is on his gold mine, but it's very close to the center here as well.
Yeah. I'm really not liking that units always spawn out at the same spot, no matter what your waypoint is. So yeah, certainly something you observe there quite carefully. And the position on that hill maybe for Marine Lord could be something that he snipes every single longbowman coming out. But obviously with the faster village timing, we at least expect that the very, very early game goes more into the direction towards Marine Lord.
Yeah. Marine Lord, plenty of gold still in the bank at the moment. Yet to grab any upgrades, but you can see he's got the longbows out. As soon as Wham aged up, he immediately queued up 3 longbows, and you can see he is just rallying them over towards Marine Lord's base. Now, Marine Lord's got that forward gold. We talked about that a bit earlier, and he's still quite heavily on it. What's he going to be doing with his gold, Nilly?
That's a good question. 150 gold now acquired. Could go for wheelbarrow. Not really going for it yet. Maybe even overmining. Oh, now wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow.
We got the answer.
There you go. So it's going to be a wheelbarrow. He's going to try and sneak it. But speaking of sneaking, take a look at Wham. He's just hanging out in the stealth forest in the middle. Marine Lord does manage to spot him out because you can with your scouts you can sort of see into the stealth forest just a little bit, and unfortunately there's not a whole lot of stealth going on in there.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like scouts trying to be sneaky, but sometimes they aren't. And we still have Golden Come on Wham's side. He did not decide on one of his upgrades, so Wheelbarrow may be an option there as well. And Marine Lord is pulling back. Woodline in the back taken, so Marine Lord will be fine. I really like how both players already killed all the deer, pushing it next to the mill.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to do it on this map. You start so close to your deer. But have a look at Wham. He's positioning towards the front of the base here. This could be bad for Marine Lord. He could be looking to get these picks on the front. You can see the way he's just sort of jostling these longbows. We talked about this a bit earlier with the opposite side. Obviously, Wham having his council hall right out the front here, signaling the aggression. But by the same token, Marine Lord could potentially be at a disadvantage, but he manages to get the longbows out. But I agree with something you said earlier. You said you don't like how when you have a rally point for your units that it is still predetermined where they pop out of the building. I agree. I absolutely can't stand that. I really wish it would go back to the way it used to be, where it was closest side of the building to the rally point. It just makes it a lot more easy.
Yeah. Especially like frustrating sometimes if you want to defend with villagers against ramposts, right? There are some workarounds where you can like right-click them, then gather, and then click back to work, and they actually try to attack the rams again. But like, simply that you can't do that with other units just feels so wrong.
Yeah, yep. Agreed 100%. It can be very finicky, but yeah, there are ways to come around it. So Wham's still sort of doing a little bit of a dance at the front here, yet to add in any outposts. Behind this, still yet to add in a blacksmith. Is grabbing the wheelbarrow upgrade himself, so both players looking to get that wheelbarrow. So Wham, I was thinking he might be going for like some sort of early aggressive push, but it doesn't seem to be the case. But take a look at what is going down in Marine Lord's base right now.
Goes for a stable, and you mentioned it earlier. Something that heavily counters the Longbowman. Also went for the campfire here, so we'll have full HP on this Longbowman. Horseman, the natural counter to the Longbowman, but we also mentioned you have to get to really big numbers for them to pay off. Like 3 horsemen, do nothing.
Yeah, the way I like to think about it is you've got that rock, paper, scissors system. But the longbows are dynamite. They beat everything, at least up until the point where you can start soaking your horses in water. But yeah, they are incredibly strong. And then when you throw in the outposts as well, which Wham is doing, it makes it so incredibly difficult to deal with because they've got that extra network of castles bonus. So it's going to be pumping out those attacks extra fast. They've got something to fall back to as well. So, if they start getting stabbed, they can just jump in. It makes it very difficult to deal with.
I want to see blacksmith upgrades, and we see the attack upgrade for Wham is coming in, so that will be extra damage against the horsemen as well. Yeah, they got some armor for themselves, but I think without a blacksmith, Wham will take better fights here.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot better fights. Yeah, getting that +1, probably going to be looking to get the Iron Undermesh too as well. Now, he's yet to scout out that stable. Obviously, there's a huge gaping hole in his information when it comes to exactly what he knows, but take a look down towards the south of Marine Lord's base. Wham actually going to be looking to drop down an outpost here. Does spot the wall out from his opponent. Now, it doesn't look like Marine Lord sees that outpost, so he's not going to be able to potentially deny it, because he could potentially bring in some longbows and shoot at the villager. So it is going to get up, and I think he's going to, with that, he should be able to spot the stable. It's going to be very close, actually. I'm curious to see.
If he goes in there, Archer's naturally not the greatest thing to kill those walls. I think he might just let the tower go up and try to take another angle. No, he actually won't. He's going to try to attack the walls. Extremely passive game in the sense that we barely had any kills yet, while both players still investing heavily in Fuel Edge. Look at that, Wham floating quite some food. Now transition to more gold, 8 on gold. He's thinking about casting this.
Yeah, this is a pretty smart move. And this is despite, not even seeing the stable. He actually spots the stable now. and he sees it there, he'll know by where it's positioned as well that Marine Lord is intentionally hiding it, doesn't want Wham to see it. So I'm curious what kind of response we see from Wham out of this, whether we see him put down an immediate barracks, or whether he just looks to sort of fall back and just keep himself safe. But he's not actually doing that. Despite spotting out the stable, he says, you know what, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to take the bull by the horns. He moves the longbows in, out from range now of his outpost, and we see those horsemen beginning to pull their jousts or their spears out, the longbows firing off. They get the first volley off. One horseman does go down. 4 remain with a single scout going to be in there as well. And you can see how much damage is coming in onto these horsemen, Nilly.
Oh man, and Marine Lord now from distance getting quite some shots in as well. Horseman tanking quite a bit at front, and it just fits. Marine Lord had the better numbers, and Wham, he had the scouting outpost, but didn't really draw any conclusions from that.
Yeah, it's a bit of an information fail right there. So I guess it's probably the nerves of being in a $100,000 tournament or the qualifications for it. You know, it kind of gets to you. You get your outpost up and you see a whole bunch of buildings and you don't really put 2 and 2 together. But Marine Lord definitely going to be putting Wham onto the back foot. Now we have that potential threat that I mentioned earlier, where Marine Lord's going to be able to push in. He can now camp on this council hall, and it's going to be impossible for Wham to actually get any more longbows out. But it doesn't look like he's going to be doing it. He does turn around. He's got a massive 22 longbows. Compare that to the 15 of Wham. He could cut production if he wanted to, but you can see that Wham is really thinking about getting up to that next stage.
So is Marine Lord. Right now he's selling more on gold, still has reasonable numbers of food, and the outpost now on the hill in the center. Love that one, attacking the gold, and Wham is a bit out of position. Was expecting the attack from the bottom, but that will be 2 dead villagers.
Yeah, 2 villagers do go down, unfortunately for Wham. But Marine Lord, I think he may have identified the potential spot that he's got here, and going to be able to look at isolating out this council hall. They're going to continue to trade out here, longbow v longbow. So we've got 25 longbows for Marine Lord versus the 18 for Wham. So a longbow difference of 7. He's not going to be able to add any reinforcements when Marine Lord is sitting on top of this. Age 3 going to be coming through for Wham any second now. So I do expect we'll have a King's Palace coming up, Nilly. What do you reckon?
I think I rather see the keep here. It just feels so intense. You can get a mangonel up a bit earlier. It feels like adding some villagers won't really do too much, but we see the King's Palace by Wham. I'm not a big fan. I think you need strong army ASAP.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be the case. My concern is if he did go for that, then he's sort of cutting off his, he's cutting off his finger, and he's still going to lose his hand, that sort of thing. Just because if he doesn't go for the King's Palace and then Marine Lord does, then he's going to be so far behind him when it comes to economy at, that 25, 26-minute mark. But he looks like he might have made a bit of a mistake here. Marine Lord coming around, finding the age-up landmark, forcing the villagers back inside the town center. It looks like Marine Lord going to be able to pick off ever so slowly those longbows, but this is exactly what Marine Lord wants to do. He's delaying that age-up. He's stopping it from happening, and even though he might not be taking the best fights, he is getting so much value out of delaying this King's Palace, because it means that you've got things like the Mangonel, as you mentioned, delayed. The +2 Pierce, delayed. The Veterancy, delayed. Knights, delayed, as we see that stable now coming up in the back of the base for Wham.
Oh man, yeah, but that's still taking so long, and you don't really want to go for some horsemen there if you can't really take the fights. More longbowmen taking good ones here against Wham. He's trying to stay in this one, but honestly, King's Palace, it's not looking good, while Marine Lord is going to Castle Age himself.
Yeah, so for anybody watching this at home and thinking, oh damn, that's a really bad position for Wham, what could have he done to avoid this? Built the King's Palace right next to his town center. That would have stopped it from happening, but normally, it's a town center, right? You don't want it sitting right on top of your other town center, but that would have been one of the ways to do it. Obviously, he knew that Marine Lord was posturing and was looking aggressive, so as soon as he saw it, he took advantage and went for the kill.
Now it tries to go for it again. Villagers being pulled, but that again is running into more Cerberus that will find more kills. Oh man, so many optimistic fights here. And now 18 villagers building the landmark, and we see the King's Palace there as well. Wham trying to go for it again. Seems like both players will reach Castle Age, but Marine Lord in full control. Pop 60 against 70.
Yeah, really difficult spot now for Wham. Is trying his best. Both players now in the 3rd age. We'll check in on the upgrades and see exactly what we've got coming in here. So at this stage, it doesn't look like any upgrades coming through for Wham. He doesn't have a lot of economy really behind this. He's sitting on 44 villagers at the moment, Nilly. Compare that over to Marine Lord, who's sitting on 48 villagers, and he's actually got a couple of knights that are going to be coming out now.
Interesting choice there. Feels okay. Archer numbers are so low. I didn't see a barracks, so feels like a really reasonable choice. Wham on the other side, one stable but not really producing at all. Goes for some more farms. I'm not sure if like food is what he will be struggling for. But how does he even get onto gold? One to the right-hand side, the one at the front, completely contested as well.
Yeah, this is a really difficult position. Marine Lord just with units on every single side, and now going to be pushing in down to the south of his base and looking to take out a couple of those villagers, managing to keep that villager alive with 2 health on it. Unfortunately, he's going to be losing all of these farms. And look, I don't know about you, Nilly, but I absolutely love the game SimCity, and I think Wham does as well, because these farms are absolutely beautiful. It kind of sucks that he can't really use them at the moment, but they are looking great, don't you think?
Yeah. I think like farms are so beautiful, and the design of those really pretty. But what's also pretty is the map control here for Marine Lord. Finds the reinforcement, finds villager kills, finds the victory in game number 2 for himself.
There it is, match complete. So Marine Lord looking incredibly competent. I mean, that second game, I really expected Wham to come out and be aggressive. I expected him to be in the face of Marine Lord. But he never really was. He had opportunities. He could have come around the top side. He could have looked to find that wood line and really do some damage there with outposts. Never did it. So a bit of a tough game there for him.
Ooh. That outpost. He could have seen everything. Just fall back, get 4 spearmen, get the faster castle edge timing, still have the better numbers. And then Wham is in a really good spot because Marine Lord obviously is investing into a unit that mainly works with the surprise factor. But if you get the surprise, then it really pays off, and that's why Marine Lord got the W.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You know, had Wham spotted that stable out, just fallen back a little bit, got the barracks out, even just, 5 or 6 spears, that's more than enough to really mitigate a lot of that offensive strike that comes with the horsemen. So really unfortunate stuff there for Wham, but he'll be heading into game number 3. Keep in mind, this is a best of 7, so plenty of games coming your way. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll catch you guys in the next one.